Okay. Welcome to the Love Panel, where love starts within. My name is Rachel, and I'm here with some of my friends. Not all of them. I was reminded to inform you of that. Melissa?
And I'm Melissa, and I'm excited to be here.
I'm Kami. I'm also excited to be here.
I am Robert, excited and nervous to be here.
I'm Jackie, and thank you for asking me to be here.
And I'm Ray.
Hello. Yeah.
We love it.
Great.
We love it. So
Awesome.
tonight we are discussing a couple of questions and looking to hear from our lovely guests. The first one being, what is a healthy relationship?
Who wants to answer first?
Wow. Crickets.
You just got right into it, huh?
Right?
Yeah.
Don't all jump at once.
Well, there's so many metrics. I think that would be the tough part, right? So, as far as what defines healthy, it could be, you could say longevity, you could say level of peace, you could say level of excitement. So, that's the challenge, I think, when finding a healthy relationship. But for me, I would probably start by saying I've always liked the metric of excitement in the morning. It sounds so simple, but waking up excited with the partner. If you wake up going, "Oh crap, like I actually am here. I get another shot. It's a new day." And that's always been the one that's like been fantastic for and Ray. We're together. So
Yeah, should we back up?
looming,
got stuck in the
looming
corner
over
once.
me in the back.
Yeah.
But I love that one. That's the one that's my kind of my go-to. It's so simple and so basic, and it encompasses so much. It's just like, do you wake up just drunk for another opportunity? And that's kind of the foundation. So I hope there's a lot more to that, of course,
Yeah.
as far as effort.
So you're a morning person.
Oh God, no, no, and that's kind of ironic because
Yeah.
like I'm actually in a 2-year bad sleep thing that I'm working through a sleep apnea and CPAP and all this kind of stuff. So like my morning consists of like waking up and like taking off apparatus or just having a really rough time getting up, and I'll usually be up and down 40 times a night. So I have like really bad sleep. So when I get to the morning, I'm like, oh, okay, sun is up. It's another beautiful moment. It's a beautiful opportunity to be, in a relationship, to have the opportunity. So if you're not, and this is like another metric, but if you're not feeling that every morning with the partner, then I think you should be exploring why. Like, why do I not look at that other person every single morning going, oh, I'm so excited to support that person in their endeavors and their journey and their adventures. And yeah, so that's what gives me the best feeling for peace and stuff. And that's kind of like a foundational kind of thing. And then you can go into so many different, metrics of like compromise, sacrifice, and all of those kind of things. But if you're not feeling that, I talked to my nephew today about that. It's like if you're not feeling so excited to support that other person, then it might not be the right relationship, or it might not be a healthy relationship. So
And I would kind of disagree with that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah.
It's my partner, but I
For
kind of
sure.
disagree with that.
Yeah.
And so to back up, how long have you and Rob been together?
4 years.
Right.
Yeah. But I believe a healthy relationship is just choosing love every day. You have to choose it. It's not a feeling. Because I don't like him every day. Sometimes he annoys the crap out of me. But I choose to love him every day. And that goes with my kids and my other family members and any other relationship that I'm in. So that's what I think a healthy relationship is.
So the choice is where it lies, in like the nucleus in the center. Is so if a choice defines it as healthy, I guess elaborate on that. I want to hear more about it.
Just
I'm
because you're
excited.
talking about the excitement every morning, and you don't wake up excited every day. I mean, life happens. Life gets heavy. You don't have those moments all the time. So consciously making the choice to love someone even when it's hard.
Good one.
I think that feeling secure knowing that life has ebbs and flows, and you're gonna come in and come out, and highs and lows, all those things. And as long as you feel secure talking to a person, it might be a relationship like a mother-daughter, or the person that you're in a committed relationship with, or just your friends, but knowing that it's a judgment-free zone, and
Yes.
that they're going to listen. And my partner, he always he's much better at it than I am because he will listen and then say things like, how can I help? Do you want me to give you advice, or do you just need a hug?
That's wonderful.
And
That's a big one of the
Yeah.
last like 5 years. And
Right.
we've learned that one.
That's awesome.
We were terrible at that for so long, and we now are like very happy to know that one.
Well, I really appreciate that. And I think that for me, that solidifies healthy for me as being safe enough to trust somebody with my deepest, darkest secrets, my fears, my traumas, and knowing that, they're not going to come back a year from now if we're having an argument and say, hold that
Oh.
against me.
Be weaponized.
Right.
Mhm.
So I really,
Yeah, that's beautiful.
What about you, Jackie?
I just, wow. So many of these things I'm going through right now. And it's like I've been in the relationship I'm in for over 30 years now. And we just are, it's like we're going through a whole nother space again and relearning each other and relearning what's, what to do and how to do it. And a lot of it is, for a long time, we were just really status quo. We're married. That's it. This is what we do. And now all of a sudden, all of our children are grown. Everybody's gone. And we're just together.
yes.
And so, and learning, both of us are growing so much right now. And we're growing in the same way, but we're doing it so differently that, and it gets more into more of the questions that are coming later, but we're dealing with a lot of our traumas that are really deep seated, and that had we not stayed in a relationship this long, I don't think we ever, we never did get to this place before where there's a lot of fight or flight going on, like, and everything in my childhood says, oh, you're not happy today? Oh, just leave. There's another guy out there. And so we're really trying to battle that and figure it out within ourselves and together. And there are some days that are really rough, and there are some days that are like, don't leave the house today. Just stay here with me and let's just hide. And so it's been a lot. Just being able to trust and being able to. So I am the one that gets up in the morning and I'm like all love, and then he's the one that gets up in the morning and is like, I'm just still having coffee.
Right.
I'll be back. I'm going to go out to the shed. I'll
Yeah.
come back in a little while when
That's
I
great.
can handle it. Stuff like that.
Yeah. I think it's awesome too, like relearning yourselves after having kids. Like we sometimes, again, like having children, we devote so much time
Mm-hmm.
that we lose sight of our partners and, again, our own experience. And so here you have this beautiful time of like reconnecting, right? Expansion.
And we're trying to call it beautiful.
Yeah. and that could be, those are the parts that are
Beautiful.
uncomfortable, right? Like that expansion part that we go through
There
is the
is.
uncomfortability. It's
Yeah.
discomforting and scary and unsure. And it triggers a lot of our own unhealed parts because we don't know how it's going to go.
Right.
And we want to have control, and we do all these things because we think we have control versus
And what do you think you can, not always be in love, but still love the person,
Mhm.
and then
Absolutely.
fall back in love?
Mm.
You know,
Yeah.
you go through rough patches, and no, I'm not crazy in love with you right now, but I love you and we're going to figure it out. And then you fall back in love. And so it's like highs and lows.
Absolutely.
Right.
I think of it as like the infinity sign, right? Like the coming
Right.
in and out of balance.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
absolutely. Falling in and out of love.
Yep.
I like
Yeah.
that. And like what Ray said earlier, the choice. You still
Mhm.
make that active choice because you still
Mhm.
love that person and you understand them and you have that shared history and
Right.
there's forgiveness involved and everything. And yeah, you're just flowing.
Absolutely.
Combative versus collaborative was a big thing that happened, I think, probably for all of us at some point, as it relates to. I don't know that people that are in their 20s can get to that point. I think we all had some level of toxic relationship at some point where it was okay, it was jealousy, it was combative, it was point scoring, all that stuff, and that drives us all into some type of darker place in therapy, trying to get over that. But I think as we evolve and get older, we just realize it's such a wasted energy, generally speaking, and have so much fun with the collaboration.
Right.
And so the judgment free, I think, is the same. They're cousins. Collaboration and judgment free. When you
Yeah.
get to that point where you're pulling the rope in the same direction, that is just such. I mean, it's God almost. It's such a beautiful way to experience life when there's two different people that are experiencing it and pulling it in the same way. And that requires two people that are mature, to put it very bluntly.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
So that's tough. That's where you look at people getting married at 21. You're going, how?
Mhm.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
That's a big generalization, but
Right.
it's just like,
Yeah.
there should be a law. Everyone, wait till you're 30.
Well, I think all relationships have ups and downs. Like to think that there's never going to be arguing or there's never going to
Right.
be issues is like not true. A true healthy relationship goes through lots of things, right? Transformation.
Rules of engagement. That's
Yeah.
what makes me think of that when you say
Okay.
that is learning rules of engagement and and knowing that you can have fantastic debates and disagreements that never cross lines.
Right.
We've all had situations where the person is keeping score or trying to score points or setting traps even. We all know those are like, oh, why are you doing that? Instead of saying, I absolutely see your side. I respect your side. Here's your space. I see you. I want to know more about where you're coming from and learn so much, just to be so engaged in the learning process of the opponent. That's totally Freudian slip in the wrong way, but not the opponent, but the person across from you. I was trying to say the person across from you.
Yeah.
We'll get into that later, Rob.
Yeah.
The next question.
Right. No,
Yeah, so it's
but
like just
absolutely.
just to be, again, that's where my original point is, like, just to be drunk on learning more about that person, and just to be so excited to be like, I want to know more about you and never keep score.
Yeah.
And like keeping score is so counterproductive.
And he does a really good job at that.
Do I?
You do.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Validation.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
another thing is respecting the other person's independence. Understanding that, you don't have to do everything together just because you're a
Exactly.
couple.
Yes.
Huge.
And I've got some friends who they don't do anything outside of being together.
Yes.
We're going to do something, we're doing it as a couple. And I just look at them and I'm like, you do that? Like, I could never. I have to have quiet time. I have to have alone time. I have to have discovery time.
Yes.
All these things. And this podcast,
Yeah.
this is way out of my comfort zone.
I know.
But I wanted to do it, and he was just empowering me all the way,
Beautiful.
and I think that's great.
Yep.
So for me, I think that, giving each other personal space to grow,
Yeah.
then you can, come back and discuss and, grow together that way,
Exactly. And
Absolutely.
learn from
Huge.
each other.
Or
Yeah.
I think, I tried this. I think you would really like it. You should come
Right.
do this with me, I keep trying to get him to come to yoga with me. Not happening.
Yeah.
We'll keep trying. Yes.
We'll tiptoe in.
Right?
Yeah.
But yeah, the
I'm like,
interdependence.
there's so many guys there. You should come.
Right? Make
Yeah.
a friend.
Right.
Uh,
I love
so
it. Yeah, interdependence is incredibly healthy and sexy. not codependence, right? I think it's
Right.
so many of us are raised on that as the
Yes.
idea of love. And so breaking out of that, there's this, sense of guilt with it, but it's so true that a healthy relationship is about two people coming together like this. I had a therapist explain that to me one time, and not like this, right? Not this like
Yeah.
conjoined like you're describing.
Right.
Yeah, it makes for a connection to yourself, which love starts within, right? So back
Exactly.
to
Yes.
you.
Absolutely. And I always focus too on the relationship that we have with ourselves. And so as you were talking, Rob, I was just thinking about, again, like our development of our relationship with ourselves from a young age, like how we see ourselves, how we view ourselves, the courage that we have within ourselves to really align with ourselves and be our authentic self. So then we can show up for our partner in a way that also makes sense for them and allows us to hold space for them and allows them to work on their own stuff because we're secure within ourselves to be that person,
Are we ever fully secure? In two-part question, like back to you, is like, are we ever fully secure? Probably not, right? Fully, right? And so we're always wrestling with snakes and wrestling with traumas and wrestling with something. So we're never fully there. So at what point do we, men and women, in any type of sexual orientation, how do any of us know I'm qualified? I'm qualified for love. That's something personally I've wrestled with since puberty or whatever. But it's like, okay, when you're young, it's all just fun and parties, and you don't think about these type of things. You don't think, am I qualified? But after you get older, you start going, oh my goodness, there's so much on the table, and there's so much responsibility to be a fantastic partner, not just to be there and check boxes, but to be a fantastic partner. So at what point are you ever qualified? And if you ask your parents that, well, you never know, you just figure it out. You just get in there and you do your best, right?
You're not expected to be an amazing partner. You're expected to be your true self.
Yeah.
Okay, so then this might be my first misogynistic accidental trap.
Give it to us.
Here it comes. I'm stepping in the dark waters.
Okay, here we go.
Come on over.
In a heterosexual male, provider kind of role, that's where I disagree, because I feel that like I have a higher level of responsibility, and I have a really high bar for myself, and it's a whole thing for another podcast, but never being good enough, blah 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 blah. But
Maybe our
that's
next question.
But that's kind of like where my question comes from, and I wanted to hear more from like different perspectives on that. Is like,
Yeah, I can share.
have any of you struggled with, am I qualified to be in this relationship, or is it just a guy thing? I don't know. Is it a dude thing where it's like, do I have enough money in the bank? Do I have enough of this, enough of that? Am I funny enough? Am I tall enough? Strong enough? All of these metrics that to your point, don't matter.
I feel it comes down to self-love.
Yes,
I
absolutely.
can give you a little
Yeah.
bit of reason why you may feel that way. It's because society, and especially with social media and different things like that, they set the bar so high. So you got to think about what you see on a daily basis, especially out there on social media and things like that. You see just perfect couple, perfect weight, perfect size. So the expectation on us as men is to be maybe financially in the 1%. The 1% makes what, $400,000 a year. And that's what people expect of us, right? To be this kick-ass father, to be this, I bring in all the bacon, I handle all the things, I do all the things, I'm all these things at once. And everyone knows that those expectations are, to the average guy, maybe unrealistic. But when you're looking at everyone else and you're kind of adding it up, you're like, man, am I good enough? Am I good enough to bear the responsibility of taking on this family and doing these things and being all that for that person? So
Yeah.
I totally understand where and especially in my last relationship, it's not that she had high expectations for herself. Sometimes we confuse someone being ready to receive our love as like I did something wrong. Like it's probably like, not to throw stones or anything like that, but it's like everyone has different things that they're combating and that they're dealing with, and we internalize it and we think that we're not good enough, and we feel like we're inadequate because maybe they haven't worked out something. So I mean that.
So I understand the phenomenon of the social media aspect of it, and I don't do much of that. So
Right.
I just for a thought exercise, I'm going to say that I get that, and it's not that.
Mhm.
I'm just curious if there is a healthy, from a therapeutic professional standpoint, is there a healthy checklist or measurement of like, yes, you're ready for it, or at age 12, 15, 27, 38, 50, at all ages, are we qualified to fall in love? I believe yes. Or knowing all of the metrics, which are so many of being in a healthy relationship, is there a enjoy love at a distance and learn it from a healthy, almost university kind of standpoint? I want to learn more how to, you know what I'm saying? I just want to,
Yeah.
we all want to enter our first marriage and let it be our last, right? We always want to be in love and let it be the final, right? So I'm just curious on that more than anything. Is like, is there a way to know that you,
Yeah.
is there ever a
I
way,
feel
or is it
like
impossible?
there's just so many things. Like,
know.
so my friend's like an archaeologist, and she would tell you, like, in regards to humans, we're animals. And so, like, should we really be with one person? Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
Not many
the moral
animals
animal
truly
book,
are.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
like, when you say, again, like, loving just one person, yeah, like, again, like, we are conditioned to think that we are just supposed to
Yeah.
be with our one person. And
This-
is that truly
right?
how things are, versus culturally what we're told that we're supposed to do?
Yeah.
And that's, again, maybe for a different topic of
That's a good
what's today.
clarification.
But,
yeah.
you know, I think, in regards to love, do I think, you know, my 12-year-old child right now who's in this like pure, innocent love relationship truly knows what love and innocence and trying to make someone happy and seeing them for who they are, and they probably know more about love than probably 30-year-olds, right? 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds, right? Because they're so pure and not conditioned into having to be somebody else, right? Other than themselves. Like, they're just showing up as them and acting and reacting from that place of purity.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
I agree with that. And, you know, you kept saying, um, at what age are you qualified for love? And I'm like, everyone is qualified for love.
Yeah.
Everyone, every single person on earth is qualified to receive love. And it's just like, what stage, you know, are you in at that point in your life? And who taught you about love? Was it your, you know, crazy ass parents?
Right.
Yeah.
They're
Right.
always
You know,
crazy
right.
ass.
Yeah.
And how
Sorry.
much trauma has one endured, right? Like, if
Right.
we think about like how much trauma, if we think, you know, again, that has shielded us or,
Right.
you know, created this barrier to access love.
True.
Yeah. I think all the questions that you were asking, Rob, I mean, I think that societal conditioning is a big player into how we perceive relationships, but also our, excuse me, our unresolved traumas and our identification with our ego and the belief systems that we have about love and relationships. So, I mean, I think it really starts, again, love starts within, right? I think to feel that you're ready is to what you can only meet someone to the depth that you've met yourself. So how deeply do you love yourself? What have you forgiven within yourself? What have you accepted within yourself? What are you still struggling to accept within yourself? And I think when you're considering entering a relationship, thinking to yourself, how could that impact the dynamic, the romantic dynamic that I'm trying to build? How could that impact my partner? And would that be someone who could really support me in that? And so I don't know. That's just because it feels very shaming, right? I think coming out of our trauma, coming out of our fear, we're dealing with a lot of shame. We're unlearning so much that we've internalized, which we'll get into in a couple of questions. Maybe we should just lead into our next
Yeah.
question
Yeah.
then with
Yeah, no,
this.
that was exactly
Mhm.
what I was kind of getting at. Thank you.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It's just, I always think of these 20-year-olds and teenagers when I think about love, because I, remember ourselves back then.
Mm.
And that's kind of what my point was, like, how, because they're having fun. They're feeling fantastic feelings. They're just living the human experience in a fantastic way. But when you look back, I think most of us, if not all of us, will look back at those years and go, "Oh my goodness."
Yeah. Oh yeah. Me
and,
too.
and I might be using the wrong word by saying qualified, but it's just like, goodness, I really wasn't qualified to.
You're learning. You're always
yeah.
learning.
I wasn't qualified to be in the original question of a healthy relationship.
Yeah.
But if you didn't have those experiences, you wouldn't be where you are now to have the
Exactly.
healthy
Exactly.
relationship
Yes.
are that you're in.
Right. And that's
Right.
where I kind of just look back at,
Like
I'm
training.
47. I look back and go, my goodness, it's so interesting. Did almost everyone have to travel that road? Where you're like, oh my
yeah.
goodness, I was with that abusive relationship, or I was with that, toxic this or toxic that. And to get to, but we all know that someone did. I mean, I have a friend
Let's
who
get
married,
into it.
I have a friend who married the girl he fell in love with when he was 5 years old,
Yeah.
So he had
Wow.
this really cool path. It was like the one love all the way.
It's so
He's
special.
got 5 kids and been with her for 40 years. So that's where I was like, is there a moment in time? And I'm a big Excel spreadsheet guy. It's silly to bring up in a love podcast, but like, is there a moment where you're like, I can do this, 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 and this. I love myself. This, 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 and this. All right, here we go. I'm ready for love.
Right.
Right.
Right. But I think our backgrounds are different. And that's what Rachel, why don't you ask the questions so we can get into that?
Yeah,
Go.
let's get into
Yeah.
this next
Yeah.
question. So we wanted to ask exactly what we've been speaking about. How can our childhood trauma potentially impact our relationships? So, considering our own attachment, our ability to regulate our feelings, our connections to our nervous system, our understanding of our nervous system, what we need through conflict, all of it. So
Just got to move your mic up just a little bit. Yeah. I keep
Mic
hearing it
adjustment.
just a little bit. I keep hearing you cutting out, so I want to make
Okay.
sure we get everything. Yeah. There you go. You're good.
we're talking about our fears, like exactly. Go ahead.
When you told me this question
Yes.
and you said this is what we're going to be discussing, I panicked. And I was like, I'm not doing this. I'm going to call. I'm going to cancel.
I'm going
not
to talk
gonna
about what?
talk about this. And immediately triggers all over the place.
Oh, do share.
And I was super scared. I'm like, well, let's see, which trauma should we pick?
Yeah.
You know,
right?
here's my basket.
You want a spreadsheet? Here you go.
Yeah. And so I really struggled with it. And I was like taking notes and I was thinking to myself. And then I'm like, okay, stop. Let's reread that question. How can our childhood trauma impact relationships? And I turned it into more of a healthy way of looking at it.
Yeah.
How did those traumas affect me? They made me able to communicate with my partner.
Mm.
They helped me learn that how I was behaving is not okay. It's not okay to, and I'll give you an example. When I was 15, my mom had a stroke and she was in and out of the hospital for 2 years. So I had to raise my little brother. And I didn't want to be a mom at 15, but I had to because I had no other choice.
Yeah.
He was just 10. So that's always been so impactful to me that I've had to fix things. So my whole life I've been the fixer and the doer and let me fix this for you. And so when my partner will come to me with a problem, I immediately jump into, well, you should do this, 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 and this. Okay.
Yeah.
You're good. And that's it's not good. It's not okay.
Right.
And so I'm like, having these traumas has helped me be a better partner. It's helped me communicate. It helps me learn from other people. And it has also helped me help other people who have gone through something similar.
Yeah.
Be a better listener. So, if you turn those things around, I don't want to be in a trauma state forever.
Right.
But it's like that, where something will trigger it, and I set up my boundary. These are my boundaries. I'm good. Set my boundaries.
Exactly.
My boundaries.
Buzzwords.
Yeah, set my boundaries. And then boom, somebody breaks my boundary and I'm like,
Yeah.
So that's no good either. So just continuing to learn how to be a better partner,
Yes.
continuing to improve myself. And trauma has brought me there.
Beautiful.
That's beautiful. That is.
Like the unburdening too,
Yeah.
that overdeveloped sense of responsibility.
Yes. That's no good.
and taking it as opportunities of growth. Like these are the things that occurred in my life, and and these are the things that I want for myself.
I learned to be comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And that's no way to live.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I love that. I don't want to clap because that'll be too loud.
Okay.
That's awesome.
What a nice angle, like a great angle perspective to take that
Thanks.
from too. I wasn't expecting that. I love that. That helped you be.
Thanks.
Who else
that
wants to
Where should we
share?
go next?
I know. It's like this question.
I was just going to say that qualifies me for love.
Oh,
Yes.
I'm
nice.
just
I hope you get like a cool plaque. I just want that above my mantle at some point. Like you made it.
Qualify.
You made
In a
it.
spreadsheet.
He
form.
would.
Yeah.
Doing it. I'll make
Yeah.
one for you.
Yay.
Yay.
Uh,
What about you, Jake?
Jackie.
There's so much. I think like my whole entire childhood was trauma. So it was like from one trauma to the next trauma to the, and like you said, Kimmy, I mean, you know, I went to school one morning when I was 9 and I came home and didn't have a mom anymore. And I was the mom of 4. And that just continued. And it was like, Dad had more kids, I had more kids, and, you know, got a new wife, got more kids, got another thing. And so I think in a lot of ways, it has helped. I guess one of the biggest things that I've learned recently is that we go into like relationship or marriage or something, and it's like all about this love and these great sparks and everything is so romantic and beautiful. But what I wasn't taught was how to truly hold space for another person while they're going through their stuff, I'm going through my stuff, and how do we, you know, like just help each other through those things and not say, oh wait, you know what? I did say till death do we part, and I said richer, poorer, I said all the words, but I only meant these words, these words, these words. And when you cross this line, you're done.
Yeah.
Sorry, bye-bye. And that was really what I saw the whole time growing up was, oh, well, you crossed the line. Yeah, we said we could do this, but now we're not going to do that. And I'm leaving. Bye. And so I don't think that any of the however many parents I had growing up, I don't think any of them ever learned how to actually hold space outside of their self. And so it was just all about what I'm going through. This is what the deal is. I'm not looking at what you're going through, and letting you go through it without judgment. And, you know,
Or taking it personal.
or taking it personally, like,
Right.
oh my gosh, you just said that word. Like, that's my trauma word. You're done. Goodbye. See ya. And so it's been a lot of that. It's like stopping and saying, oh, wait, you're learning. You're going through something. I may not like it, but I really love you. And okay, let me know when you're done. Or, you know, how do you want me to help you? Like Cammie said, not me directing the whole circus all the time, being, okay, this is the problem, follow A, B, C, D. Oh, wait, you skipped C. Bye. So it's been a lot of just learning, like, what actually is love. I think I'm more on a being love rather than being in love. And so, and making that I'm the safe space too. And, you know, and maybe I have to be your safe space from a different room, from a different side of the house, from a different side of town, but I'm still your safe space. I'm still here.
Right.
And you can still come back and we can still talk about it or deal with it or help you with it. But every mistake is not an ending.
Right. I love that.
Yeah, that fear of abandonment and
Yeah.
it's real. We were all raised with, I was raised with conditional love. I was raised with violent love. Like love was conveyed as violence. So I think there was this fear going into relationship of like, oh gosh, like how, like it made me really conflict averse in my relationships because I assumed it would always lead to that. But it didn't allow me to be authentic because I was always holding back. And there was always shame that was unspoken and things I wouldn't share because of that fear of what would the repercussion be, and the doing too much, right, to avoid further escalation of tension. So it's been like learning how to show up differently. Like trauma teaches you all the things not that don't go well, right? Not to repeat. But it can potentially, when we're not conscious and aware and awake to it, and we're not all the time. No one's perfect, right?
Yeah.
Is there an element of, as you were saying, I was thinking how fantastic it is that it sounds like there's a lot of trauma for a lot of us here, but myself included. Is it fascinating to anyone else besides me that we're making a podcast in this generation of who we are, relative same time, same generations, and going, this is infinitely farther away from our parents' generation.
Yes.
Just think about
Yeah.
what were every one of our parents doing at this point in their life, right? They were surviving, they were, ignoring, they were doing their check boxes and things like that. And we love them and we forgive them and for what they were. And you can only do and you can only respond to what you know. And we know so much at this generation, and we are taking and just ripping it so far open as it relates to understanding everything, from traumas and what their effect was. We're literally I could be way wrong, but we're one generation away from a society sitting in a room and talking about traumas.
Yeah.
I mean, literally
Hopefully.
one generation.
I know, literally.
And that's so cool. It gives me very, optimistic, vibes as far as like how great the next generation is going to be. Because we give our children, license, space, and permission to explore these things. Now, you don't want to go too far where it's just 100% of your thoughts and your actions are completely accepted.
Yes.
It's fascinating to know that like we're able to just get to a place of exploring childhood traumas together in a space where it's just in one generation ago, never even a
right. And now we have this open dialogue.
It just makes me think that there's really great things on the horizon for us as a people.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But for my childhood trauma, but
segue, Rob.
It's a really unsexy answer. It's kind of like it's more what not to do. It's so silly, and it is just going. Okay, they divorced. B, never. I was never hugged, never touched. I had abusive, whipped with a belt, kind of, really rough, situation. Middle child of 7. So I had no clue a Catholic upbringing. The list is long as far as all the how did I make it out alive kind of, and understand I could sit on a podcast with 5 lovely women and just be talking about my feelings.
Right.
So I'm like, I'm going to pat myself on the back. It's like, I'm maybe qualified for love after all, but to come so far. Right. But it's such a, I would say it's just really just going back, and all of us as people and, men and women can just look back and just scan 0 to 18. I always say 0 to 18, childhood. What happened 0 to 18? Just scan that time and go, what do you think might have informed your current self? And just embrace it and go, oh yeah, that probably made me start doing that, made me avoid that, or and then just giving yourself permission to go back there and just revisit it from almost a safe. And there's so many modalities to do that, even with psychedelics and so many different ways to go back at that 0 to 18 to see what informed you, and then come back to today and go, yeah, that made me weak here, feel inferior here. I'm not going to let it do it anymore. So it's kind of
So how did those traumas affect your relationships?
Initially, it would probably say like emotional constipation was the fun way I put it. It was a rough access to the feelings, because the feelings gave me no utility. So from 0 to 18, it was you have to be better, stronger, smarter, and the best. So it was a very highly competitive household. So there was no, literally, and I'm not being hyperbolic, there was never a discussion once about love or the concept. There was no hugging. It was just raw survival, right? So when you're raised that, you're going to enter the adult world having near zero concept to what a healthy love is, right? So how did it inform it? It informed it poorly. The good thing is that, and this is so silly again, but movies and what I saw in the movies informed me in music, but media kind of informed me, oh my gosh, like, the Huxtables are hugging before they go to bed.
Mhm.
That's cool,
Wow.
right?
Mhm.
I watched The Cosby Show and they look like they're happy.
But it is how we got contrast.
Right.
Exactly. Right. So the contrast was really music and movies, which is why I still love it to this day because, and I'm like, oh, is it escapism or am I running? No, it was fuel for what I knew inside, dare I say soul. I knew something that was bigger and better and stronger and we all go towards that light. Right.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
that was why I still go to those and I quote movies all the time or I reference songs all the time. We all do. Right.
Yeah.
Because we say it's us telling stories of our highest aspiration, right? So you aim for that to avoid what you knew was wrong, right? You knew that this trauma was not what you wanted. So
Or deserved.
Yeah.
Right?
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
But there's a funny line between truly knowing that and just doing the act and thinking that you can just go to the happy place in a relationship without doing the inner work of the trauma.
Absolutely.
which is which is heavy. Yeah.
It's hard sometimes to walk through the trenches, right? Like not a lot of people want to do that. Like it's hard work, you know?
Yeah, so-
it's not easy.
So asking the therapist,
But it feels so fucking good.
Yeah.
It feels so
So
fucking
asking
good.
the therapist in the room, what? I'm such a guy. I'm so sorry. What percentage of people want to do that work? Is it
7.
really? Is it really small?
Is it the 1%?
I would
That
say
was how
that
I
the
was
one
going
person,
to.
the percentage when someone comes in and realizes, holy shit, I'm not my thoughts.
Yes.
Holy shit, I'm more than
yeah.
my fucking brain
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
been lying to me half my life.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my God, I understand awareness and
Yeah.
presence and being in this moment and nothing else is real and everything else is just an illusion that I've carried with me and lived through these lenses of trauma. And I can take a breath in a space of like presence. They are addicted and fall in love and will chase that feeling the rest of their fucking life.
Right.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
beautiful.
So half of us,
That's
like,
beautiful.
is it?
It's
Is it?
more lately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
The
growing.
number's
I'm gonna-
growing.
It's growing.
Yeah.
And now with the
Yeah.
political climate, I think we're going to see a lot more. People are really waking up. I think
Cool.
the pandemic brought a lot of people in and it's growing. It's fabulous, but it is hard and not everybody does the work or they might start the work and maybe get stuck in a place or get just feel a sense of-
Sidetracked.
content.
Right.
It's
Just
hard because they don't have a
complacent.
lot of support systems to help
That
them through
too.
it.
Yeah. But they don't have conscious communities. They don't have people that they can talk to, supportive people. And then it's easy to just fall back into old patterns and old rhythms and right. Like the things that again, like the way that we grew up, the things, like what we know.
Right. Avoidance and pleasure and all
Right.
Right.
Fear.
addictions and all that stuff. Yeah.
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 You know.
Talking about childhood trauma and how I said earlier that I turned it into a positive. The other thing that I was just thinking about with family is that my brother and I experienced that together.
Mhm.
And now that we're adults, I love that we have bonded over that. And we talk about how messed up it was
Mhm.
and how the ridiculous things that happened during that time frame and how we grew up in a fundamentalist Christian home. Both sets of my grandparents were ministers. My parents were ministers. And so it was all church all the time.
Oh yeah.
And not that there's anything
Basically.
wrong with anybody who loves
Yeah.
church,
Right.
right. Go have it, but not for me. And because it was introduced to me poorly, it was the church is first, and then my husband is second, and then, family's third.
Mhm.
Yeah. Were you on the list?
Right?
Yeah, right.
Totally.
Wow.
And I'm adopted.
Oh wow. Yep.
Right.
So, I can take all those things and be like, yeah, that was really messed up. And I think about the ridiculous thoughts that I had as a child, like really, really crazy things. And I thought these because of these stories that my mom would tell me. And I would be so scared.
Yes.
And church shouldn't be scary.
Right.
But it
right.
was. It was
Oh
terrifying.
yeah, I grew up with that same fear.
Yeah.
Oh,
And so I love that despite the trauma that inflicted on me, and I can tell you so many awful, weird stories about church, but my brother and I really bonded over it. And I love that relationship has blossomed as an adult.
It's funny you mentioned that with the with the church, because I also come from a very religious background. We were Jehovah's Witnesses growing up, and so we were educated a lot about the different types of love, and it was a very orderly love. Like everyone had a role, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
It was just very different though in aspects of, they of course they put the congregation, God and the congregation on very high, but
Yes.
they spent a lot of time, my parents and everyone in the congregation spent a lot of time of teaching us how to play your roles right and how to work through things. Not so much on like a relationship level, but just like, hey, this is your role and this is where you need to be. As long as you do those things and you involve, God then and prayer, then it'll work itself out. So when I left the church and things like that, it was very challenging to go from that to like, oh, I'm all on my own now. God ain't with me. I gotta play this role on my own. And of course, as a young man, you stumble, you fall, different things like that. But just looking back at it, it was just like a very orderly, I'm the head, my wife is the neck that supports it. I feel like my dad was training me to be a husband from the time I was 5.
Yeah.
So like you guys mentioned earlier, like, oh, you're very nurturing. That's how I was raised. I was, my mom gets, hey, mom, you good? You need anything? Whatever, all the time. And that's how my dad said, this is the way he would preface everything, even though I didn't see him do it. He's like, this is what you do for your wife. And then he would show me something. And since I was like really small, and whether, he did it or not, or, he just showed me those things. And so, yeah, it's weird how religion affects, and, depending on which religion you come from, it affect, from childhood growing up and affect how you love and how you treat others and different things like that. I just found it was interesting. Like,
yeah, that is really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Do you still feel that way, that a wife should be treated a certain way, or that you should do those things for a partner?
The older I got, the more I learned about leadership, and I learned about servant leadership. And I learned that that's just the way that you should be whenever you're taking the head in anything. You should serve others. So when I'm in the role at work, or when I owned my company, I was always trying to be as serving as I possibly could, because the more you give, even though you're not going to get 100 back, the more you give, the better the outcome will be, the better things will work out. Not what you get back so much, but
That's
just overall.
exhausting.
It
Isn't that
is.
exhausting?
It's very exhausting, but it's when you become a selfless enough, it just, I don't give with any expectation. I don't do anything with any expectation of anything back. If you borrow money from me, you're not borrowing it. I'm just giving it to you because I have it and it's yours to have. So like I learned that like with time, and I don't even know if it's right or wrong, but when I lowered my expectations for everyone else and just hired my expectations for myself, it just worked out better.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Because you're always helping someone. You're coming from such a high frequency that way, an elevated frequency.
Yeah. And when you do that and you just don't ask for anything back, it just, everyone like self elevates. Like everyone is like, oh, okay, cool. This is just what we do here. And then they just come up to.
Have you ever had a concern that your agenda, your love of self would take a hit living that like stoic, selfless existence? Because Ray and I talk about this because I align with kind of that philosophy that you're talking about, where there's just the rawest of joy in a selfless existence. But I always try to have deep, meaningful conversations without saying the B word, but I have to. Balance. Do you struggle getting a balance with the selfless existence and the honoring yourself?
Like, am I satisfied? And are you asking me? Like,
Have you ever asked yourself, oh, I'm giving too much, right? Or I'm being too selfless, in the pursuit of like overarching self-love? You know, do you struggle with balance?
I don't not so much struggle with like the balance of it all, but like and I've been in I was in like my last relationship. I was so like giving that she was offended.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I'm getting at. Like, because it can be like,
dude, you're like doing too
you
much,
love
man.
it.
And I'm like, well, this is just how I am. Like, I'm not doing it to be clout chasey or to get on. You know, I this is just who I am.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that it's just, to me, it's an interesting topic, because I'm always wanting to make sure you have the balance right. And am I being selfless because of a trauma that I'm unaware of? That's like a thing that's always stuck in my head. I'm like, no, I just love helping people. It's like, well, it's because you're this from, you know, you don't have enough love of self and you're trying to overcome. No, I just kind of like doing it.
Well, I think that's where the boundaries come in, and to slow down right with that is because I think if that's genuine to you and that's part of your authentic self-expression, that's gorgeous. Like, continue, because
Yeah.
the world needs more of that.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's also just back to love starts within. Like, are you giving enough back to yourself? Like, it's
Right.
important always to give to others, but just to slow down and check in. You know, does that energy need to go here first for a hot minute so I can,
Right.
you know,
And that's huge.
Are you
He
filling
will
your bucket?
Sacrifice himself
Yes.
every day for other people.
Yeah.
But do you get time for you though?
He won't take it.
I'm working on that.
Like, do you feel fulfilled though?
Well, that's such a huge question, but I mean, how do you? I mean,
Like
do
when
we-
you're, because for me myself, like I struggled with it,
yes,
but
it would be my short answer. But go ahead.
yeah, like I was like, you know, I was like, maybe I am doing too much, but at the end of the day, like I'm fine.
And that's
And-
so. I mean, I've gone through so many like
Yeah.
therapy sessions where I'm hitting this one thing. It's
Yeah.
like, am I balanced?
Yeah.
Right? Am I balanced? And so, short answer is probably no, because I have a list or an agenda or a want of things for myself that is incomplete. Right? Okay. So then I'm like, okay, maybe I'm not taking care of myself enough. Right.
Right.
And then you get different metrics of like your list of things you want to accomplish, the places you want to go, your health, you know, your overall sense of being. You know, there's all the different ways you can measure, are you taking care of self before others, right? And that's where it gets all muddy, and I could talk for days and I should shut up, but it's like I find it fascinating when you're first of all, when you're a parent, then a grandparent, then then in a partnership. There's this real genuine, and I'll fight this one to the death. There's a genuine joy in being selfless.
It is.
It's a genuine joy. There's no way that it's something not that, right?
Yeah.
And so I love that. And being selfless is so wonderful. And then, and so I just don't, I'm just sometimes worried that you're losing self by being selfless, and it's so hard to get it just right.
I feel like if you look in the mirror and you know who you are, you know, if you look in the mirror and you know the things that you like if you
Yeah,
have
I
your
got that.
hobbies and
Yeah.
I got the things that I do and the things that are for me. As long as I got that, then I'm good. Like
All
I
right,
don't,
so it's you that's let me because she makes me question if because she loves me so wonderfully that she's like, go do this,
yeah.
go be free.
That's what I got. That's
Go-
what I got
you
back.
know what I'm saying?
I got
And
that
she'll be
back,
like-
and it was like, hey,
Yeah.
like you're not doing enough for yourself. I want
Right.
you. But I'm like, yeah, bro, but like I'm good, man.
know.
And then he's
Right.
like, hey, I need you to get a hobby. You can't just be, you know, serving me all the time. And I'm like, all right, cool. I'll start podcasting.
Right,
And
right,
then I'm
right.
busy every day, and you're like, why aren't you around more? And I'm like, you told me to get a hobby. But yeah, I totally understand. But a lot of times it's just like some people. I don't want to like make it about men versus women or anything like that, but a lot of people don't understand my motor. A lot of people hear everything
Right.
that I do and they think,
Right.
oh, you're doing too much. But you don't understand. Like, this is like, I'm not even at 100 yet. I'm at like 60. I could
Yeah.
really go harder if I wanted to.
Right.
amazing.
Yeah,
Right.
but that just means that you have a really high motor, and not everybody's used to it. You know, if Michael Jordan goes on the basketball court with a bunch of nobodies, it's gonna look like he's trying really hard. but he's just that good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're just that good, man.
Yeah,
Oh,
no,
I
I
love
was
that
I was just gonna
analogy. That
I was
was good
loving you
shit
coming. I was like,
right
you are
there.
just that good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's nice.
I'll take that, and I'm gonna.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're that good too. Don't worry. You're that good too.
I know I'm
Yeah.
that good.
Yeah.
Oh,
see?
she is. Yeah.
We're good.
I've done the work.
Yeah.
I love it.
Awesome. Well, thank you everybody for joining us today.
Thanks
Loved
for
our
having us.
discussions.
Hell yeah.
Yes.
Do we have
Sounds
homework?
super
Is there anything we can do for homework?
Oh yeah, we think about more love questions.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah. So until next time.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you for
Thank you,
joining us,
guys.
everyone.
Yeah.
Thanks.